Hello, One Great Earth. Currently looking at this new article that uh, dropped on the 15th that has been updated by Pooja Chaudhary and Jake Godin. Gaza's trees disappear, showing the humanitarian crisis. Israel's continued offensive has ravaged Gaza. It has polluted the soil, water, and air, compounding a humanitarian crisis which the UN recently characterized as imminent famine. Reuters recently reported that starving civilians have resorted to eating the leaves of prickly pear cactuses to stave off hunger. Such acts mean that while Gaza's environment is a cause for concern for ecologists, the territory's flora could also show a great deal about its desperate humanitarian situation. On February 29th, the Union of Gaza Strip Municipalities issued a statement saying that Gaza Strip communities have not received fuel deliveries since October, a fact that was causing a cascading effect across all sectors of society and leading to great suffering. These acute fuel shortages have led civilians to cut down trees in order to start fires for cooking or warmth. In a food security report from December 2023, the World Food Program stated that 70% of internally displaced people, IDPs, in southern Gaza burn firewood for fuel and 13% waste products. 70% of those displaced are burning firewood from trees in nearby. So you have an area like Rafah, a population 275,000 people, and then you force an evacuation of 1.5 million people south. It's a footprint of 275,000 people trying to withstand the 1.5 million population it exploded into due to the evacuations, the bombings, the forced marches. 70% are burning firewood, 13% waste products. Bellingcat's analysis of satellite imagery from Gaza, conducted with our partners at Scripps News, shows clear signs of mass removal of trees which intensified in the winter months. These areas include cemeteries, parks, and a university campus. Importantly, satellite imagery shows that Israel Defense Forces, IDF, have removed a significant number of trees for stated military purposes, though more often in orchards and farmland. These cases can often be distinguished by the presence of vehicle tracks. The relative absence of vehicle tracks when done by Palestinian civilians is a telltale sign of the fuel shortages which drive them to such desperate measures. Illustration by Anne Kiernan for Bellingcat here. A missile going into a tree. One in the background, intensely burned. Beautiful. It's illustration, not that context. Context is terrible, but that's what we're doing here. Trying to add more to this very, very important article by Bellingcat that just came out this week. Acts of destruction. In contrast to the deforestation of necessity caused by civilian activities like the collection of food and fuel, the Israeli military is deforesting Gaza and destroying agricultural land as part of its ongoing incursion. Olives are an important crop for Palestinian farmers. Orchids can not only be found in the West Bank, but also near Khan Yunis and elsewhere in the Gaza Strip. The tree is of particular cultural significance to Palestinians. Since October 2023, Israeli officials have incrementally revealed their plans for Gaza after the end of their military operation there. In January, they spoke of the creation of a buffer zone on the border between Israel and the Gaza Strip that would be more than double its size before October 7th, the date of the Hamas attack on Israel. Israeli media has reported that this new buffer zone consists mostly of agricultural areas and that the IDF was in the process of demolishing buildings in the zone as of late January. Satellite imagery from Planet Labs shows vast areas of Gaza Strip where the IDF has operated has been cleared of orchards and farmland. One of these areas is so-called Netzarim Corridor, a strip of land bisecting the Gaza Strip just south of Gaza City. The corridor was detailed in a segment aired by Israel's Channel 14 in February. Following what the IDF call Route 749, the Netzarim corridor will reportedly remain under Israeli control for months, if not longer, and allow the IDF to conduct raids or operations into Gaza. Satellite imagery from March 9th, when compared with imagery from October 15th, shows that the area within this corridor has been heavily deforested, with more than roughly 4,300 acres of land cleared of trees and other plant life. This number was measured using QGIS in-program measuring tool to calculate the area of cleared locations. The CAD program, QGIS. Cleared locations visible on March 9th. Visual satellite imagery from Planet Labs along the Netzarim corridor. Now this is October 15th, 2023, this image here. And swiping it left is March 9th, 2024. You can see where the areas of the trees have been removed. Checkpoints have been made. It's just either fires, strikes, or people are removing trees to burn for firewood for warmth. The image below shows the appearance of heavy vehicle tracks in this area in more detail. Vehicle tracks appearing at these coordinates during the deforestation process near the Netzarim corridor between October 2023 and March 2024. Dotted lines denotes extent of deforestation at each stage. So from top to bottom, left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see just how massive this deforestation campaign has become. You can see here in this image on October 15th, 2023, lines and lines and lines of woods, of trees, farmland. It's from December 26, 2023, and in the top right, tracks made during clearing and areas where trees have been removed. February 8th, 2024. Just look at this top to bottom. In just a few short months. Now this barren landscape with ocean water that has been pumped into tunnels all around the area that's going to salt the earth even further. That's going to eliminate even more of Gaza's flora and fauna. They got nowhere to live now. This isn't a unique location. A December investigation from Human Rights Watch found orchards Greenhouses and farmland north of the city of Beit Hanaan was razed by the IDF. This continued during a military pause in fighting in November. Ahmed Ben-Shinzi, the communications director for the Middle East and North Africa region at Human Rights Watch, told Bellingcat, "The law or the laws of war are clear. Warring parties are strictly prohibited from attacking objects indispensable to the survival of the civilian population and objects. It means food, it means medical supplies, it means drinking water installations, and it means agricultural areas, which have been very widely destroyed by the Israeli army." An analysis of January 19 Planet Labs satellite imagery shows a similar level of clearing in southern Gaza along Kisofim Road. An IDF military presence on the ground in this area was reported by Israeli media in late January. Using the measurement tool in QGIS, the total acreage of cleared land for this area comes out to be 805 acres. Here is October 15th, 2023. Just swipe left. January 19th, 2024. It is a huge, huge, huge corridor that's been removed. That right there, gone. Additionally, March 2nd imagery from Planet Labs shows large tracts of orchids and agricultural land having cleared in central Gaza, near the fertile Wadi Gaza, just east of El Maghazi and El Rej. In all, around 1,287 acres were visibly cleared in this area, including cemeteries. In an interview with the New York Times in a January story, the IDF told the reporter that orchids near El Barouj were leveled over concerns there could be landmines buried among the trees. "I don't come for revenge, I come because it's necessary," a general told the Times reporter. Acts of desperation. Another cause of deforestation in Gaza is a desperate humanitarian situation caused by Israel's military operations. An illustrative example can be seen in Deir el-Balah, a town in the center of the Gaza Strip. In June 2023, satellite imagery shows extensive tree cover and cemetery at these coordinates, wedged between two large streets and a mosque. On November 5th, we see the first signs of trees disappearing. By November 21st, this had accelerated and only a few trees cast shadows over the now mostly bare cemetery, with a small concentration remaining in the south of the cemetery. By January 7th, the latest date for which Planet satellite imagery is available, this cluster of trees has mostly disappeared. The shadows cast by trees, sometimes more visible in the satellite imagery than the tree itself, have vanished. A video recorded by the Palestinian Wafa news agency in mid-November last year explains the cause. It shows young men chopping down the remaining trees in the cemetery. Their cause for doing so may explain the accelerated rate in subsequent months. In December 2023, civilian buildings in Deir el-Balah were attacked in an Israeli airstrike. A cemetery further north of Deir el-Balah at these coordinates shows similar change over time. Trees appear to be present at the cemetery at least till early November, but a satellite image from November 21st shows a majority of them chopped down. Vehicle tracks, usually visible when the IDF clears an area, are absent in these satellite images, possibly indicating that the trees were removed by civilians. Tent caps are also visible on the right of the cemetery as the tents expand, more trees seem to disappear along the perimeter of the cemetery. This is visible in a December 31st satellite image. On December 5th, 2023, the Israeli military reportedly advanced south into Han Yunis, a city overwhelmed by people fleeing the northern areas of the Gaza Strip. Vehicle tracks are present in the cemetery in the west of Han Yunis that lost its trees by November 26, a sign that the vegetation was likely removed by displaced Gazans for firewood or supplies. Satellite imagery captured on February 17th later shows the cemetery almost completely bare. Tread marks and craters in and around the cemetery indicate it might have been damaged in an Israeli offense. As the city, a sprawling outdoor complex in Khan Yunis featuring a water park at these coordinates, underwent a gradual loss of its trees starting in December. Satellite imagery from January 15th shows the park almost completely bare. One of the largest UNRWA shelters, Khan Yunis Training Center, was located just south of the Gaza city, according to UNRWA. 43,000 internally displaced people were registered in the massively overcrowded shelter by late January. Last month, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced an offensive in the southernmost city of Rafah, which sits on the border with Egypt. Netanyahu claimed that it is Hamas's last bastion. The announcement drew criticism from human rights groups as a majority of Palestinians, over 1 million, are living in tent camps in Rafah after Israel issued repeated directives to find refuge in the city. Trees appear to have been cleared in cemeteries in Rafah, a change visible within just a few days at a cemetery in the west of these coordinates. Satellite images captured on December 2nd depict trees that disappeared by December 6th. A cemetery in Rafah at these coordinates also shows disappearance of trees. Vehicle tread marks are not visible in both cases, which again is possibly due to civilians taking the trees for warmth. Trees are not only felled for firewood, but also clear the land for temporary shelters. Desperate conditions have forced civilians to live in tents built with flimsy material in Rafah, said Human Rights Watch, HRW, on February 9th. Some of these encampments are on farmlands. Trees bordering the southern end near Egypt, at those coordinates, close to the village of Al Khora as Saladia, were removed as shelters have spawned in the vicinity. An aerial view of the area weeks after the start of the violence and satellite imagery from February show a stark difference in the vegetation. This is October 20th, 2023. To February 28th, 2024. Similar deforestation was early observed north of Rafah in urban areas of Khan Yunis, the second biggest city in Gaza. Since mid-October, makeshift tents were being built on the grounds of Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis at those coordinates. As the tents progressively grew, with Israel expanding airstrikes, satellite imagery from mid to late December shows palm trees in the hospital complex removed to build tents and create space for those taking shelter. However, after Israeli forces pushed deeper into Khan Yunis, the tents in the hospital complex gradually disappeared. The complex was later bombed. Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, Gaza, was shelled in the early hours of this morning, despite Israeli forces having told medical staff and patients they could remain in the facility. Read a statement by Doctors Without Borders on February 15th. Satellite imagery from Planet shows the progressive change in the hospital complex. Tents began appearing as early as mid-October, and progressively grew until IDF's further advancement into Khan Yunis in January. A decrease in the number of tents was observed in mid-January, with most of them cleared in the beginning of February. There appears to be no sign of people or trees in satellite imagery after the hospital was bombed. However, a March 9th broadcast by Al Jazeera shows a few rows of trees still standing. This can also be compared to footage from the ground uploaded by the World Health Organization (WHO) in 2019. Al-Aqsa University campus in Khan Yunis, with these coordinates, was also used as a place of refuge. It was lush with trees and lawns, which appear to have disappeared as encampments were built. This is Al-Aqsa University and West Khan Yunis, November 30th, 2023 to January 15th, 2024. Back over here. You can just see how barren this land is now. Completely eradicated of their tree life. This is disastrous for aquifers, this is disastrous for the land, as we know that IDF has been pumping seawater into the tunnels that's causing an untold amount of hardships. There's going to be a lot of poisoning the well. I continue, sorry. Satellite imagery captured on November 30th shows the presence of trees which gradually disappear in December. By early January, the campus and its adjacent areas were noticeably devoid of greenery and covered with temporary shelters. The tents were also visible on January 21st, a day before the university was attacked. In the latest satellite images, Al-Aqsa University campus appears destroyed and barren. A withering landscape. Far from being merely examples of environmental destruction during conflict, satellite images in the article tell the story of that damage from two angles. One is that of the Palestinian civilian victims who do not have the daily fuel or food required and must create makeshift shelters on any land available. The other angle is that of the IDF, whose attacks against Gaza are targeting not just its civilian population, but also the landscape and vegetation that people need to survive. Bellingcat contacted the IDF for comment and asked whether it considered the impact deforestation and destruction of agriculture was having on the civilian population. The IDF spokesperson unit told Bellingcat, "The IDF does not intentionally harm agricultural land and seeks to prevent environmental impact absent operational necessity." I gotta read that again. The IDF does not intentionally harm agricultural land and seeks to prevent environmental impact absent operational necessity. Adding that Hamas often operates from within orchards, fields, and agricultural land, and hospitals and tunnels. Hamas is everywhere. It's insanity. The IDF spokesperson unit told Bellingcat the IDF follows international law and is committed to mitigating civilian and international environmental harm. This is Bellingcat's latest article this week, updated on March 17th. Very strong article. Very much in line to what I've been saying for months now about the destruction of the land and the It's the environmental crisis and the ecocide that has been occurring. Alright, I thank you for listening. I thank you for watching. Please, if you haven't already, like the stream, subscribe to the channel. Keeps me motivated. Thank you. Take care.